The International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for the Russian president for war crimes. This is the first result of the court's investigation into Ukraine, which began a year ago. Court prosecutor Karim Khan targeted the Russian president. Vladimir Putin is suspected of deporting Ukrainian children to Russia as a war crime. He was also prosecuted for illegally evacuating many Ukrainian children to the occupied regions, especially the Donbass. These were the transfers of children, especially orphans, to Russia, some of which were transferred to Russia. Adopted and granted Russian citizenship. Yesterday, senior Russian officials, including Kremlin spokesman Dmitri Peskov, denied the arrest warrant for President Putin, reiterating that Moscow does not recognize it. Jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. In contrast, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed a historic decision by the International Criminal Court. Regarding the reactions of other countries, for U.S. President Joe Biden, the arrest warrant for President Putin for war crimes is correct. European Union diplomat Joseph Borrel called this an important decision. Today, September 23, 2022, the United Nations Commission of Inquiry into Ukraine confirmed that crimes have taken place. War crimes in the country since Russia launched its war of aggression. In May, the Human Rights Council adopted a new resolution, asking the Commission to investigate serious human rights abuses by Russian troops, in particular in the Kiev, Chernihiv, Kharkiv, and Sumy regions. First, the chairman of the investigative committee Eric Mose said, when investigating in the 4 regions mentioned above, the committee interviewed more than 150 victims and witnesses. According to Eric Mose, based on the reliable evidence collected, the investigative committee concluded that there were war crimes in Ukraine, specifically Russian airstrikes on residential areas, numerous executions, torture, ill-treatment and sexual abuse. The bodies found all showed signs of execution, such as hands tied behind the back, bullet wounds to the head or slit throats. Victims of sexual abuse are aged between 4 and 82. The commission also has evidence of children being raped, tortured and illegally held, or injured, or killed in their attacks. Russian Army. Some of the victims reported that, after being captured by the Russians, they were transferred to Russia and spent weeks in prisons. There, many people were beaten, electrocuted, forced to be naked, and subjected to other abuses. Some people, after being taken to Russia for detention, disappeared. At the Munich Security Conference on February 18, 2023, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris condemned Russia for committing crimes against humanity. Since the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine, this is the first time the U.S. administration has accused Russia of committing crimes against humanity. Legal standards, and there is no doubt, these are crimes against humanity. Vice President Kamala Harris stressed that everyone who commits these crimes, their superiors, or their accomplices must pay the price. Many of Russia's crimes were listed at the Munich conference by Vice President Kamala Harris, a former attorney general, such as the deliberate bombing of civilians and critical infrastructure, torture, rape, and smuggling of Ukrainians to Russia, especially separating several thousand children from their families. According to the U.S. State Department, cited by AFP, Washington has studied or compiled a list of more than 30,600 cases of war crimes committed by the Russian military since the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine. Established a special court to try high-ranking Russian officials, but the specific format of the court raises complicated legal issues.